We've been exploring my Battletech build. If you're jumping into this vlog, I pushed up to the archive here on my channel under the Battletech playlist and under the Battletech build playlist, a number of videos. And this vlog is number 3 or number 4. Essentially, I'm starting a new Battletech campaign, head-to-head, free-for-all with a bunch of friends. And I've got, as of this vlog, 1 month to go before we kick off the campaign. And I wanted to do something different, just for a framework of this vlog and the previous and future vlogs in this series. I wanted to do something different. The biggest problem with Battletech, there's not enough battle value. There's so many amazing things to play. Tanks and vehicles and infantry and mechs. Certainly the mechs are the focus. And my list is going to include mechs, but I wanted to go tank heavy. I wanted to kind of switch that formula where you see mechs are the stars and tanks and vehicles play like a supporting role. I want to make a tank heavy list. That is going to be the focus. And the mechs are going to work and support the tanks. We're going to see how that plays out on the tabletop. And I'm going to pull in a mix of units, of course, that I always love to play, but also a few new units that I think are really going to work in terms of synergy with this build. So we've explored some of the core tank tactics, and now I'm going to switch to the mechs for a little bit. Then we're going to jump to infantry. Then we're going to finish things out with the tanks and kind of get that overall scope of what I'm trying to do. And the reason for pushing this out, besides to offer some tactica, is to offer an opportunity for you to look at what I'm taking, to imagine if this showed up on the hex map, and how would you take it apart? How would you destroy it? And just based on, a good mech commander needs to know in the moment, just based on what I'm playing, if you see this and you know how I'm going to use these pieces, the units that you would bring, or the mechs that you usually like to play, what would you do to utilize that? How would you look and focus for that? So a light mechs. I'm going to bring a Valkyrie. Now, certainly I enjoy playing this machine, but the Valkyrie is kind of interesting. And I've pushed up detailed Valkyrie Tactica here to the Battletech playlist. You have a light mech that mounts something that usually you don't see until you get to medium mechs or on some heavies. There are some light mechs that kind of break that mold. A perfect example would be the Panther with a PPC. That's something you see as a primary weapon on heavies or on mediums. Think of a Battlemaster, think of Marauders, think of Warhammers. Maybe you see an autocannon 10 on some medium mechs. You've got the Griffin with a PPC, but that on a light mech, I mean, even a large laser would be pretty interesting. Likewise, with the Valkyrie, you see a long-range missile 10-pack. So that's something that's interesting, that somehow the techs have fit that into the machine, and it still has good movement capability, good armor. I mean, it's not blazing fast like some of those jacked-up light mechs, but it's still fast enough to stay out of trouble or get into position, while at the same time bringing these missiles, enough of a spread with enough shots, and of course backed by a medium laser. So the reason why I'm bringing the Valkyrie as a light mech is in this build, in this battle group that I'm playing, the vehicles are going to be the primary assault. They're going to be the primary focus. So I need mechs that can support that or take advantage of opportunities as they present themselves on the table. Now, what does that mean? Fritz, give us an example. I can't. I kind of need something to happen. I need you to do something and give me an opening, and then using the mobility of the mechs to strike where vehicles would have a hard time. That I can kind of give an example. You know, the power of mechs is that they can move through most things unhindered, or they can expend movement points to move through things. Vehicles, there's certain terrain that they can't move through. There's certain things that slow them down. They can kind of get into trouble. So there's certain areas on a hex map where I'm not really going to primarily attack by vehicles because I don't want to get bogged down. I want to be hull down. I need cover. But mechs could. Mechs can utilize that. So looking for that opportunity to see what we can do. The Valkyrie, the reason why I'm taking this is I don't need a scout mech. Normally light mechs would be scouting around, maybe a little bit of skirmish. I need something that can aggressively attack, aggressively put pressure on, because I'm going to be looking to exploit that weakness. Now, of course, it's all battle value, right? For the battle value, certainly a Marauder is going to put on more pressure than a Valkyrie, but the Valkyrie working as part of that lance and as a light mech getting into that position. The LRM has that punch, it has that range, but at the same time, it allows me to stay back to some distance. I didn't go with a close-in light mech, say like a Jenner versus a very, very potent mech, because the primary weapons on the Jenner, all of them, while they can put out alpha, they want to get kind of closer. I want to stay back with this light mech. I want to protect. I want to harass, but in an aggressive type way. I also want to be able to drive off light mechs, which I can with the 10-pack, so the Valkyrie has the chance to stay with my lance of mechs, because they are going to be working together as a lance with the other battle group. But this way I can drive off or focus shots on that pesky spider or that locust or other bug mech, allowing the PPCs of my Marauder, of my Warhammer, just to really, really kind of lay in and focus and fire. So light mech duty, not scout duty. I've got some hovers for that. Not some outflank. I've got some hovers for that. And the hovers that I'm actually taking in my list, I got a couple of choices here. When we get to the hovercraft, I'm going to be putting out a few choices. I have to kind of decide, because I have to get these miniatures painted up. You know, we're playing historical rules. Everything's got to be painted on the table. So I just can't kind of bring a bunch of hovers and say, well, it's this or it's that. I need to commit. But the outflank and the scouting is going to be relegated to the hovers. So that frees up the role of the light mech, and the light mech, the Valkyrie, is going to fit that role of being aggressive, being supportive, the first mech in the battle group.